Faced with a widening gap between job seekers and job opportunities, one path is gaining momentum across the continent: entrepreneurship. In response, a wave of entrepreneurship programs has emerged, from government-backed hubs to NGO-led bootcamps and tech incubators. These initiatives aim to equip young people with practical business skills, how to build, scale, and sustain a venture. And a prevalent one is ALX.
How does ALX differ from, say, a traditional edtech outfit?
EdTech's focus on you going through the program, and I think for most, the experience ends once you're done with the program. But for ALX, it's a community, and learning is an ongoing thing. So we always find opportunity to continue to support.
Now, in this story, I sit down with the country manager, the entrepreneurship development manager, and founders from the ALX Ventures program to explore the solutions they are introducing to help unlock and develop Africa's growing talent.
My name is Nana Darko. I'm the country manager for ALX. I'm responsible for operations here in Ghana and also recruiting students into our various programs. Basically, that's it. But primarily, we've been focused on student recruitment in Accra, but I'm also responsible for ensuring that we expand to the other parts of the country. So very soon, you'll be seeing ALX having hubs and more presence in different parts of the country. Yeah.
Great. So how does ALX differ from, say, a traditional edtech outfit?
I think there are a lot of similarities with the way the edtech operates, but the main differentiator between ALX and other programs is the community that we provide. Most edtechs, and I say most, not all, are more focused on the learning program that the participants go through, right? Because it's remote, it's online. The facilitators are more interested in just giving out the content, whereas ALX, we look at it holistically. So one of the key differentiation with us is our community that we provide. So whilst you're in the program, going through the content, although it's remote, it's very similar to EdTech. There's also that in-person community that we find different ways to engage with our learners. So we look at the holistic experience. And even when they are done and they graduate from our program, we continue to engage them. EdTech's focus on you going through the program, and I think for most, the experience ends once you're done with the program. But for ALX, it's a community, and learning is an ongoing thing. So we always find opportunity to continue to support you. Like I mentioned, today I can confidently say ALX is the biggest career accelerator in Ghana. When you look at career acceleration, it's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing relationship, and that's what we focus on.
Wonderful. What would you say is a problem, like is a very prevalent problem you see with the education system here in Ghana and maybe Africa as a whole?
I think there's a lot of research that has to, back this thing. And this is not what I'm saying, but this is what research is saying. And this is also what my experience with the education system in Ghana shows, right? It's a lot of theoretical and, like we say, book-long information. And when you look at the education system, it's more around reproduction of knowledge that has been taught by a teacher or a professor, right? Whereas where today in the world of work, it's more about practicality. And I think that's the biggest challenge when you look at our education industry. We're producing people who know how to reproduce knowledge, whereas we have to focus more on practical skills that are relevant to people. For example, the doctor needs the practical aspect to show their work, right? The practical aspect of their knowledge. So why can't we do the same for people who want to do other things? And I think the majority of our programs are focused on acquisition of just knowledge, and it becomes a lot of theory. Because I give a practical example. We have a number of university graduates or even students come intern with us. And you'd expect that for internship, they would know how to use some of the tools that are required in the work environment. The least would be probably Google Slides, Microsoft Excel, and those things. And it's quite surprising that you have them coming in and then you have to teach them during their internship period. So you ask the questions, what exactly are they learning, or what practical skills are they acquiring? So for me, that's the biggest challenge. There are a number of also challenges with the educational system, but if you ask me what the biggest one is, I'll pin it on the fact that it's a lot of theory production versus acquiring practical skills.
So in this case, who shares, are we going to share the responsibility to both the students and then also maybe the system. But then who bears like much of the responsibility in this case?
I like the framing of the question. Who bears much? I think would be the educational system. In this case, the governor, right, which is the Ministry of Education or the government.
Even in the case where, like, I'll make an argument for the case that we are in an informational world.
Yeah.
Everybody probably has a mobile phone.
And that's the point I was coming to, right? Everybody has a case when it comes to being blamed. I think parents, the students, because in a world where information is everywhere, we don't just rely on the government to make it happen, right? If you've noticed that practical skills is what is required in the job, and you're only relying on your teacher to teach you theoretical things, then you also have a blame. You also have to be blamed by not looking for those skills. So I think parents, teachers, the community, where we push people to be more focused on acquiring the knowledge that they get in school rather than helping them to gain practical skills, right? And I know a lot of parents are now investing into these things, investing in putting them on edtech platforms, bringing them to accelerator organizations like ALX, MEST, and all of those things. It shows that there's an interest, but it takes more work to be done. I think one person, the biggest driver of skill is the government, right? We need the government to change the policies, to educate, to introduce more practical stuff into the curriculum that help the students to be ready for the job market. At the end of the day, 90% of, and this is my point, I mean, it's not research back, but 90% of what is being learned is just to get to the job market. It's just to get to the job market. So why are we not getting those skills then? And why are we learning information or theory that is not really relevant for what we do? It's relevant in other things, but why are we not preparing people for the job market? So I think everybody's to blame.
Great. So if you were to suggest a roadmap, would you say that we would go from, say, primary to secondary and then to an accelerator program, or you'd still advise we go the traditional route, which is primary to secondary to tertiary, and then to an accelerator program?
I think that the accelerator model, if you look at it, is more around acquisition of skills, practical skills. And I think it can be embedded in all the various stages of the programs, right? Even from primary school, what practical skills are they learning? Problem-solving skills are they learning? In high school, what problem-solving? And then when they get to university, I think that should be more focused on job readiness skills. So I think throughout, because if you look at the accelerator model, not just ALX, so many other accelerators in the country, international, it's mostly focused on acquisition of practical skills and then other soft skills that are relevant to, let's say, to the job market. And I think these things don't have to be waited to be introduced at the latter stage. We say catch them young. So why don't we start from the earlier stages? So for me, I think it must not be a standalone. Today it's a standalone because it's now becoming new here in our market. So most people wait to go through tertiary to now acquire these programs or these knowledge to accelerator. But if you look in certain countries, and Estonia is one of the countries that I always like to refer to, the accelerator model is embedded throughout the educational system, right from infancy. The government has this policy where it's practical, so that you come out of school having these skills ready to solve problems. And it's not just for work, right? It's about solving problems. What problem around you can you use that skills to solve? But here it's around theory, and sometimes you don't see how this knowledge acquired can be easily transferred into whatever problems we find around us.
That's interesting. So another thing I would want to ask is this. I mean, the whole point of a career accelerator program, like you said, is to get you ready for the job market. Now, one very prevalent problem, or one telling problem we see, especially in Ghana or even Africa as a whole, is that the problem is not necessarily, unemployment is a problem, but then also under unemployment is even a huge problem. So I am assuming that, or I am sure that whatever ALX is doing in terms of preparing young talent or young professionals is to basically put them in a market that makes them quite competitive. So that they can also leverage whatever opportunities they have. What would you say about that?
That's a very interesting question, and I like the fact that you touched on underemployment, right? If you look at accelerator programs, a lot of them are not focused on preparing you for just the local market. right? So you need to look at the global market.
Yeah.
Today, people are accessing job opportunities in US, in UK, which previously would have been occupied by local citizens. But because they have the skills, they're able to compete for similar jobs in wherever in the world. And in the same way, people are also looking for jobs in Ghana, right? Because they also have the skills and they can do it remotely. So accelerator programs, very much like what we have here at ALX, provides you with the skills, not just looking at the Ghanaian market. We've done a lot of research, looked at the holistic job market. For example, our software engineering program is from the Hobbiton School in US.
Yeah.
So the value of what you get, or the content of what you get, is not just for the Ghanaian market, and it's not just for the US market, because graduates of Hobbiton School are employed globally.
Yeah.
So last year or beginning of the year, so this graduate finished last year. By the beginning of the year, got a job opportunity in France and has relocated. And that's because now they have the skills, not just for the local market, but for the global market. So I think the role of accelerator programs like ALX is not just preparing people for local markets.
Yeah.
Another example that I'll give you is today it's estimated that there's 1.7 million software engineering jobs that are not fulfilled. 1.7. In Africa, we have less than 1 million software engineers, right? So if you train these people, and mostly we know software engineers work remotely, they can work from anywhere once they have access to good internet. So if we're able to train all these people from Africa, now accessing this estimated 1.7 million jobs, we're not just addressing unemployment in our country, we're also solving a problem of increased cost of living, because now they'll be accessing higher pay, salaries and stuff. So I think for me, that is some of the things we need to promote when it comes to accelerator programs. It's not just catered for the local job market, but it's preparing people for global opportunities.
So I think that a while ago, I was scrolling through Twitter and then I saw this post where somebody was saying that there is this Nigerian startup, but it's headquartered like outside in the Western world, and they specifically asked, or when they were hiring, they specifically asked for talent from India and then Asia, let's say Asia, but not Africa. They were not hiring like talent from Africa, and the excuse was that, well, African talents are sort of like, they fall short in terms of technical skill. Like, even though we've made a lot of progress, and today you hear like that, I mean, I know friends who are incredibly talented when it comes to this, whether it's software engineering or all of that. Do you think it's more of like, what do you think the problem is? Why do you think they are favoring, say, people from Asia over like even African talents?
There are a number of things, but I'll just like to touch on one, which I think, in my opinion, is why they favor it. I think it's just the brand, right? If you think about it. And also, second, maybe another thing I'd like to touch on is the years of progress that the Indian market has had when it comes to development in technology, or in development in building people in tech. We're doing an amazing job in the country, on the continent right now, but we have to admit that we're not at the same level. So sometimes when you're looking for talent, you tend to go to those markets, right? Or what I notice people doing lately is they hire the experienced one from these markets, and then they supplement them with the ones from the Africa, and then they make sure that these ones from probably India are training the ones from Africa as well. So there's that ripple effect of, I have this experienced person, but I'm helping them train people from Africa. So in the long run, the Africans can also then start training more people from Africa by leveraging the experience that they've learned from India. But if you think about brand, India has intentionally invested in tech training. When you look at the intentional design when it comes to policies, intentionality about building their tech ecosystem, we're not there yet, and we have to be honest. But I think it's a blueprint for us to look at, to replicate. India has over thousands of technical schools, and these are not just accelerators, these are proper long-term technical skills that go in. So I think that's why people tend to prefer that. But if I look at the trajectory Ghana is on, Africa is on, we're on a good growth path to get into what India is doing, the model that they're doing, because they built a whole service industry around making sure that they develop tech talent that they will outsource. It was an intentional model, right? Because look at their population. There wasn't enough jobs in the country to service everybody in the country.
So they had to make.
So then they had to export their talent.
Yeah.
So people talk about exports, and recently the Honorable Minister of Communication spoke about Ghana just looking beyond exporting gold, diamond, whatever our natural resources are, to exporting talent. So there needs to be that intentionality about, it's not just about the natural one, but then about the people.
Talent, yeah.
Look at CEOs of big organizations. They are from India.
Yeah.
It's not by chance.
Yeah.
It's intentional. And we need to be on the same path. So it's a brand and the intentionality they did to build that model.
Yeah, I like the fact that you talked about exporting talent.
Yeah.
So then my question is that, I mean, I should assume that ALX will be Pan-African in the sense that we are building African talent primarily for the African markets, right?
Yeah.
But then also another issue that we get to see, like you mentioned, India has intentionally solved that part, whether it's with policy, education, all of that. But then when you look at Africa too, are we it seems like as though we are falling short on the policy aspect, we're falling short on infrastructure, we're falling short on even the amount of jobs that are in the market for these talents. So in this case, are we basically building talent that will just leave the country? And then, because I go into product design before, then when I go into product design, my mind, as at that time when I made that decision, was that Ghana is not going to lead me anywhere.
Right.
I'm going to get these skills. I'm going to get a job probably in Canada or something. And then within 2 months or something, I'll just leave the country.
Yeah.
That was my intention.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I'm not the only person who shares these. There are a plethora of talent that have these same mindsets. So in this case, are we building talents just for them to just leave the country or leave the continent? Or we are also, aside we building the talent, we are also looking at certain aspects that can make the environment conducive to, get these people in and then build our ecosystem.
Yeah. It's all about progress, and I'll use this word over and over and over today in our conversation. We've had so many people leave from the beginning. I don't have the data to back that, but I'm feeling very confident that if you look at the people that used to leave previously to look for Western opportunities, there'll probably be a decline, right? I stand to be corrected. But based on experience, also based on conversations, there's this feeling that number has reduced. And that's because of the progress that it's being made. Today, people know they can sit in Ghana and access opportunities. If you're qualified in Canada, and you don't necessarily have to move there, right? You can get the same money you probably be making from Canada over here. But the result is bringing in the main driver of change, which is the government, because the government is beginning to see these results. I think across the continent, some countries have adopted this policy more advanced than Ghana. One country that I know is doing this at a very fast pace is Rwanda.
Yeah.
So they have an AI policy, they have a tech policy, they have a youth development policy. Ghana recently, we've heard also about the policies. We expect there to be more implementation and seeing the results. And there are so many other countries. I think Nigeria has also announced it. So as you mentioned, it needs to be backed by infrastructure, right? The more we develop these infrastructures to be able to bring in opportunities that people don't have to go anymore. Like you said, the opportunity that you're going to chase in Canada is very similar here. You'd rather stay here because you have your family here, you have your friends here, right? So I think the government is doing, government in different parts of Africa is doing the same. And currently ALX is in 7 other markets, and we're showing results across these markets that is grabbing attention of the government, other partners who are saying that we need to come and set up here to be able to tap these talents over here and keep them over here. Because by 2050, as it's reported by the World Bank and all of that, Africa will have the largest workforce. And then companies in the West have started planning for how do they tap into these things. So the government is also trying to take advantage of it. We don't want to get to 2050 when we have the largest workforce and then realize that, oh crap, we are not prepared. We have the largest workforce, we've not trained them, they can't access jobs here because now the West will be coming for it, and then they can also access jobs over there. So I think there's a wake-up call. I'm beginning to feel it because of conversations that we're having with stakeholders, ecosystem partners, and international organizations. There's that wake-up call. It's not at a scale that everybody is seeing it, but for people who are in the industry, we can see more intentionality when it comes to building an army of tech people that will be ready to, go and attack job opportunities outside there, and also find job opportunities here too. And most times we talk about training people for outside. The only reason why we keep talking about outside is if you look at the number of jobs currently available in the country, it's not able to occupy all the youth. So we need to find jobs outside there. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is we'll find jobs outside and then here for them as well. Through these accelerator programs, through these tech training programs. Yeah.
Great. So whilst you're talking, there is something that you mentioned with regards to the offerings that you guys have.
Yeah.
I think one thing that you guys would do better, based on my own personal observation and research, is the fact that you are quick at iterating your courses.
Yeah.
Like recently, you just introduced a new course that has to do with content creation, right? But then there's not something that happens in traditional tertiary institutions where it's like they are doing a particular course for years, and even though the world is changing, the world of work is changing, but then they are not iterating. But then you guys are iterating. Like, I would say, like, how has that helped? How, based on your observation, how has that helped, especially young professionals that are coming to your outfit to take your courses? Like, how has that transformed like their careers, their lives? Like, what would you say about that?
I think as an organization, we're very product driven, and the concept of product is the right time to launch a product and the right time to decommission a product. So we're constantly listening to the market, taking feedback, talking to employees, and that guides how we develop our programs, and then when we take some of our programs out. A couple of years ago, one of our best performing programs was our financial analyst program. We had so many people register interest in it, complete it, but on the job market, we did a lot of research and saw that, okay, the initial people who expressed interest in it, those are the people who are interested in it. Because over a couple of months, there was almost like a flat growth when it comes to people that express interest in our financial analyst program. So they gave us an indication that you've addressed this problem for the group of people that want it. And now you talk about our content creation program. The gig economy, the creative economy is booming right now, right? A couple of years ago, if a kid told their parent they want to be a YouTuber, the parents were like, what is that? But YouTuber content creation has come to stay. It's a profession now. So we did it to, it's the interest of the youth, and it's creating so many job opportunities. Today we see them online. We see they're unemployed. They are not. They're actually making so much money from...
I call them media entrepreneurs.
I mean, that's a good word. So that's their job, right? And they've created jobs, and then they're hiring people because now they have to hire a production team. That's why. So we don't need to overlook that industry. So we had to look for program that will fit those people, because everybody needs to upscale. We have also gone into content creation, but we didn't know all about content creation. There's AI in content creation, there's entrepreneurship in content creation.
IP laws.
Exactly. So we designed a program that fits that group. Recently, we also launched the cybersecurity program. There's also growing interest when it comes to cybersecurity. And, market research shows that it's not just an appealing program in Ghana, but globally, cybersecurity is an in-demand profession. So, like I said, once we look at the international market, we look at job opportunities, we create these things so that once people go through it, they're able to tap into opportunities locally and also globally. So we're always on the ground listening. You'd see more programs being launched by ALX. You also see more leaving. One of our biggest programs, the AI Career Essentials, was a hit last year. But this year, I think almost the majority of Ghanaian youth have either gone through an ALX AI program or have gone to an AI program on another edtech platform. So comparing its performance to last year is not as great. Doesn't mean that it's still not relevant, but then we might decommission it to bring in something that is relevant to the market. Our data analyst program is best performing because everybody needs to analyze data. The content creator needs to analyze data. The banking guy needs to analyze data. So I think the market determines what we put out there and what we promote.
What would you tell people who think that these are just buzzwords? So data analytics, cybersecurity, it feels so like it feels flashy. Like what would you say to people like that who come to study with this kind of mindset? Oh, I'm going to learn this thing and I'm going to make thousands of Ghana cities or millions of cities, and then it's like...
I think first of all, there are no buzzwords. It's where the world is
currently.
Exactly. Previously, I think if you have the mindset that, this is how the world was and it wasn't changing fast. I think previously if the world was changing, it used to change at slow pace. Now it changes very fast. Right? A couple of years, cloud computing wasn't as big, but now it's a whole industry, right?
Like recently I was sitting there, I was like, see how AI is moving fast. You're probably here secured in your job. There is some software engineer sitting somewhere cranking some energy drinks, and within like a few months he's going to make your job like gone.
Exactly.
So it's like you have to constantly iterate as a young professional.
So they're not buzzwords, and people need to take them seriously. I mean, the data analytics program, right? Yeah, you may have heard it. A couple of your friends would have said, I've taken this course, but it's just the advantage they get over you. Today, if you want to be more productive, you should be able to interpret data. You should be able to tell a story from data. So what differentiates you between the next person is the fact that they're able to analyze data better and they're able to tell the story with it. So it's become very competitive. The job market has become, people say, but I'm looking for a job, but I can't find it. It's just because it's become very competitive. It's estimated that for every job, there are minimum of 1,000 applicants. So how do you differentiate yourself from the next person? Even when you get to the last stages of the last 3, what is different from you from the next person? And these are the things that you need to show, right, to differentiate yourself.
So this is good. What I'm thinking about is the fact that most of the social development programs are mostly situated in the capital, that is Accra. So in this case, the last time I gave you a story about a guy I met. Like I traveled to the northern region. We met this guy. He was our translator between his people and then us. And fast forward, I came here and I was doing a video here, and then I saw that he's seated. I didn't even recognize him till I was reviewing the footage. I was like, this is the guy I met there. And then he's traveled all the way. Maybe you might not know, but what I'm saying is where he stays or where he comes from is very far from society. It's very, very far. Like, I mean, we go to the place, we didn't have network. That's how it's deep, right? I'm sure when I'm done, I'll show you. I have drone shots here. I'll show it to you. But like, this is the case that this guy is sitting here, and I'm asking myself, how did ALX appeal to this young person far away from society to come here and then take a course here and he's basically building his life? Like, what would you say about that?
We have a very aggressive marketing, machine to create awareness about the importance of developing your skills, to be ready to just grow professionally and you always go back to it, be able to get job opportunities. So today through social media, you can reach people in the most remote part. If he had 10 seconds of internet connectivity, I'm sure he'll probably see something about ALX that shows him the value. So we don't even talk about our programs in terms of we offer this, we offer that. We show you the value of what life could be if you did these programs. Even if it's not with us, if you did this program with somebody else, this is what life could be. And I'm sure that's how he probably found out. But I think to your main question, why we focus on Accra, I think it's the beginning of the journey, right? When ALX came, we decided to start from Accra and really understand the market before we scale. Today, we have our learners from all the parts of the country. The only difference is they don't have that community that Accra has because of the hub that we've set up. But the work of youth development or tech and digital literacy cannot be done by just ALX alone. And one organization that I'd like to mention, and there's so many of them, right? But one organization I'd like to mention is Implementers, right? They have a module that addresses more people in the rural areas. So we are learning from them, and then we'll be able to replicate those models to go there. But I think currently they are doing an amazing job in terms of addressing digital literacy and tech training in those rural areas. Our roadmap for 2025 and beyond, we have that we're going to move into the northern part of the country. So starting from Kumasi and then going upwards, because we realize and we know that there's the need to reach more people beyond Accra. We analyzed our data and we've seen that over the last couple of years, we have engaged, so in terms of those marketing metrics and all of that, at least 1.7 million youth. We look at the age youth bracket, 18 to 35.
Wow.
And that's almost the same number of youth that you have in Accra, which means literally almost every youth in Accra knows us. So now it's about time that we go into the various parts of the country as well to be able to engage people, let them see the benefits of tech development. And I'm sure as you walked in, you saw high school students, visiting the hub. It's quite surprising when they were being engaged. I'm not going to mention the school, but I think from an audience of almost close to 100, just 2 people knew AI tools from the class, and these are final year students.
Wow.
Just 2 people from the class knew AI tools. It shows the level of awareness that needs to be done. So first it starts with awareness, and then also now how to get them to get on to, to acquire their knowledge. Just before this interview, I was it just ignited the need to do more of these things, because a class of 100, just having 2 people know AI tools. And every time I look at this thing, they're not just competing with Ghanaian students. That's what I keep saying. They're competing with global students, right? Because the job market in a few years, we've said it's a global market, but we've never really seen it come to life like now.
Yeah.
Because people are always looking for jobs. They don't look at just Ghana. They're looking for jobs in China, Ukraine, Russia, Germany.
True.
In the same way that you think you are looking for jobs in those countries, they're also looking for jobs in Ghana.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you look at your competitors as just Ghanaians, you're losing out. And
so in this case, you are saying that the future of work is digital migration.
It's not the future of work, the current state of work. Just that it's going to get worse, or it's going to be amplified in a couple of years. Yeah.
This is very interesting. So, I'm bringing my questions to a close. I want to talk about cost, because we live in a country, we live in a continent where, in terms of like economic parity, it's not everybody that has like the means to afford for high quality education and everything. But then I think that ALX makes it quite affordable for people to acquire these skills, because your focus is not necessarily just to generate revenue, but then also to help young. What would you say about that?
So thanks to our partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, we're able to provide our courses to zero to low to no cost to our learners. Initially, when we launched in 2021, it was totally free. Then we had so many learners start the ALX program. But the challenge with online programs or virtual programs is the fact that there's high churn rates or drop-off rates. ALX boasts of one of the highest retention rate, and we have close to 50%. But if you look at global benchmark, it's around 18% for virtual programs, right, or remote programs. So in the subsequent year, we introduced what we call the admin fees. This was also not the actual cost of the program. And I'll take our data science or our data analytics program, for example. The shelf price of that course is more than $5,000. But how many Ghanaians can afford $5,000? So we price it around $120, just so that we gatekeep people who have interest, because the MasterCard pays the actual price of everybody going through this program. So we had to make sure that people who are committed were the ones going through. So we charge a little amount, $120 compared to the actual price, which is more than $5,000. But I told you earlier, we're always listening to the market, we're always on ground, collecting a lot of data. So we noticed that also impacted the number of people that wanted to go to our program. So we supplemented that with 2 other free programs, and we saw more people going there, but there was interest in our technical programs like our software, but they couldn't afford. So in 2025, we piloted one where it's just $5 a month. Depending on the duration of the program that you're taking, you just pay $5. So if software engineering is 12 months, you pay $60. If data science, I think it's 13 months, then you pay that times $5. So we've made it very affordable. And the aim, as you mentioned, is not revenue generation. It's around making sure that we have people that are putting their skin in the game, that are committed. Because once you pay, then you'd know that it's urgent. And we're already seeing that in the number of people that were able to keep in the program. Like I said, we have a graduation rate of close to 50%, but even when we started at $5, I think we've seen it go above 50%, which means more people paying the zero to I think it's, for me, it's like even no cost, right? But if you see the value of the program that you go through, or even coming to our hubs, the internet usage for a day, it's more than $5, right? So it's just to show that you're committed to the program. So not just us, a lot of learning platform, edtech solutions are beginning to make these things free, because we see the need for it. And like you mentioned, we don't have those kind of income that, people generally don't have that income to pay for the actual cost of this program. So grateful to the the funding organizations that we work with as an ecosystem to make sure that we're able to make digital literacy programs affordable and almost free for young Ghanaians to go to.
ALX, aside you helping giving technical skills to these talents that come in, you also connect them to jobs, and then also you help with people who want to extend their education by giving them scholarships. I would come to that. But then one thing I would want to ask you, which has been like a personal dilemma to me, is the fact that one thing I've noticed about African talents, I mean, I'm in Ghana, so I'll just talk about Ghanaians, is the fact that most of the young people, it feels like I mean, ALX here, they're giving out these courses, little to no cost. You can come in, acquire some skills, and then basically build yourself. Why is it that people still choose to just stay in their houses or maybe distract themselves with something else instead of like taking advantage of opportunities like this? So it's like I keep on asking myself, is it like we don't have that inherent drive? And I asked you the other time, is it like we don't have the inherent drive to do the things that are important to us? Are we not like forward thinking? Are we not thinking like, 5-10 years later, like where will my life be? How would I want to contribute to society? How would I want to contribute even to my personal life? Like, what is our problem? What do you think is our? You've been dealing with students, you've been dealing with talents. What do you think is our problem?
So this is a very great question, but then it shows like the journey that we've been on. If you look at the numbers that we started from year one, these are the same youth that we targeted in 2021, who over the last 3 or 4 years are still within the youth brackets that we're targeting. But you ask yourself, why is it that in year one we're only able to do 6,000, whereas in year 4 where we did close to 90,000? People need to see the benefits and then believe in it, and then now get on board. So when ALX first came into the market, we've been operating in other markets. So at least a number of people knew about us. So they were willing to, take the risk, if I should say that. Then once they started putting their stories out there, through the ALX program, I got connected to this job. Through the ALX program, now I've acquired this skill. Then there was amplification of awareness and the importance of this program. And not just us, like very similar edtech programs or platforms here. Then now, the next year, it's scaled again. So for me, the people who are not taking advantage of it will probably have their own personal stories. But I think at some point, it's going to become so important you can't do without it. But then you'll be late. People would have taken advantage of it. But it's so important when it comes to acquisition of these kind of skills that the people who are not taking advantage now would ultimately do. But it's just a matter of they being late, and people would have been ahead of the curve. But I think it's just something that is typical, because this is not something that edtech, ALX, career acceleration, wasn't something that we all grew up knowing, right? Probably in other countries, if you wanted to become an entrepreneur at some point, you need to go into these kind of programs and things. This is still new to all of exactly. So people are adopting it small by small. I think as more people see the value, it just becomes inevitable for everybody to jump on it.
Great. So I would want you to talk about the roadmap. Like, I mean, you connecting someone finishing school here and then connecting them to the job market. Because like, I think the last time you mentioned that you work with certain partners who give some of these students like employable positions. So I would want to speak to that. And then also the guy I interviewed the other time where ALX basically sponsored him to go to Mauritius to pursue his school. I mean, his story, I'll plug his story in this, but then his story
is going on, by the way.
I have his shot. His shot was good.
Okay, he's very shots now. So I just want to put on record that we do not guarantee jobs. And I've heard a number of people, and I've seen on social media, I finished the ALX program and I didn't get a job. We do not guarantee jobs by going through our programs. What we'd say is we upskill you to make you a better candidate for the job market. I think that's the difference that I want to make very clear. So typically you enroll into our program. Our program is online, so you go through the modules online. However, we provide this space where we're sitting in right now, that if you need any kind of in-person support, you could come in. We have coordinators here who can support you with some of the content that you want to better understand. A lot of the learning is done, or even the coaching is done by students themselves. We have this model where it's called the 70-20-10 model. 70% of the learning is done by you. 20% of the learning is done by your peers, right? And 10% is done by the facilitator, which is what you find online.
Yeah.
So we give you the guidelines to be able to study the 70% on your own. But when you come into our spaces like this, as you walked in, you could see students working in groups, and that's the 20% that they're doing. Once you graduate from our program, we have employer partners who over the years have hired our talent. So they believe in continuing to work with us.
Yeah.
So when they have job opportunities, we are the first point of contact.
Yeah.
And that is when we can also bring it to the community and say, okay, there's a job opportunity here at X company. They are looking for these people. And then we do the sourcing and then we give them finalists to then hire. So by going through our program, you would have then you'd have saved yourself by, having to do the physical applications yourself versus now us sending your resume to the employer.
Basically inherently vetted.
Exactly. Right. So that's how we do it. And then for a long time, we played within the space where I like to call the university graduates, the university students, and then the early career professional. So those are the people who are typically going to our program. Late last year, we launched a new program called the ALX Pathway, which is more focused on high school leavers, so recent high school graduates. And what the program offers is foundational digital literacy skills, very similar to what, for the university graduates, it's more of practical job ready skills. Yeah. However, for these high school leavers, is digital literacy and some kind of leadership skills. Right. Once you've gone through our model, we also have university partners, very similar to how we have employer partners. We have university partners who then give us opportunities and scholarships for our learners, our deserving learners, to go through our program. So Sharif, who you met the last time you were here, went through our pathway program, outstanding students, good grades from WASI. The only reason why Sharif hadn't continued was, in your video, as he mentioned, financial reasons. So he took advantage of the ALX program, went through it and waited for a scholarship opportunity. And then when the scholarship opportunities happened, he was one of our most deserving students. So we connected him. Today he is getting a 4-year degree at zero cost and all the nice stuff that it comes with. So those are the opportunities that we provide for people.
Wonderful. It's been great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sitting with me. And always when I close when I close an interview section, the question that I ask is, what is a question that you wish I asked you that I didn't ask? And what's your answer to that question?
So I have to frame my own question, and then I think the question that I probably would have asked is, what do I think of the state of Ghana's, when it comes to as a whole country, or the government's plans for, digital literacy or development of young people in technology. I would say that I think we're in the right direction. Having someone boldly call out that this is an area that we want to focus on.
Yeah.
I think when the announcement came, all of us within the ecosystem were excited, because we cannot do this alone. There are a number of us playing in this field, right? But together we'll be able to achieve a lot.
Yeah.
But I've said this probably on your show, and people who know me know that whenever I talk about the government, I say it's the biggest driver of skill. They're the one who can make that announcement and everything changes. So making that bold announcement that they're going to train 1 million people shows commitment, and the execution when it's done, having 1 million people having digital skills, helping to improve productivity. It's not even just about getting jobs. Some of these 1 million people will already be working, and now they'll be able to become faster and better at their jobs. Today, I guess the most common AI platform that is used is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Because it can do a lot of the things that used to take us a week. You can do it in a day.
Yeah.
So now having to train people means that we'll have better productivity in the country. So I think for me that would be the question to myself. Yeah. That's the answer that I have for you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sitting with me.
Thank you, Afi.
Much appreciated.
Welcome. Looking forward to the next one.
Yes, sir.